Tauli-uli no angkat, tagadi-gadi no angkat, tadalla lamane achuman no angkat, barrina gaya.
You know, you've already got the vision to go. But
Yeah.
What was the driving emotion that led you guys?
Well, we didn't have a vision to go. Like, initially, it was like, we'll never go to Africa. I'm African American. I'm like, I'll never be able to go back to Africa. It's too much money. Who can afford that? And then I spent took a month off at the Anti-Gentrification Coffee Club. And I just I'm not doing any social media. I'm just going to stay here. Because we had just finished a bunch of coffee collabs. And I just want to be in the hood and serve coffee. And I did that. And I was telling the whole, coffee is stolen from Africa, 1616 by the Dutch, $200 billion industry. Black people make less than 5% of the money in this thing. What if we re-engage with it? Self-imposed reparations, generational wealth, connect with our heritage. I did that whole thing, and every time I did it, like homies would be like, dudes would be like, yo, like, so have you been yet? And I'd be like, nah. Ethiopian coffee is a gateway drug. The coffee plant was stolen from Africa in 1616 by 2 Dutch spies. 3 years later, the first stolen bodies landed in Jamestown, Virginia.
Clap. Perfect. All right.
I'll give you a cheerleader clap. I used to be a cheerleader in college.
Did you?
I did.
Oh, wow.
Scholarship and everything.
Hey, look
randomly.
at that.
Okay, so my name is Renata Henderson. I am the Chief Operation Officer. I'm the head roaster. I'm the graphic designer. I'm HR. I wear many hats in Cxffeeblack.
How did you get involved with Cxffeeblack?
Well, I'm married to Mr. Cxffeeblack. So the way that I got involved in Cxffeeblack, my husband, when we met, was already doing the music side of Cxffeeblack. So he was making, he had the albums, he had the EPs. We were selling merch. I was making merch then. One of our first interactions with each other when we were dating was I sang on a song that he made about coffee. So we've been about this since the beginning. And then our first year of marriage, for Christmas, I bought him an espresso machine. And I think that just kind of gave him the green light to say, oh, I'm hopping into this. Like, this is about to be a thing.
Yeah, Cxffeeblack to Africa. Is that the name of the documentary? I don't know. Like, it just was kind of a bar, so we ran with it.
Cxffeeblack to Africa.
Yeah. My name's Bartholomew Jones. I'm an educator, I'm an MC, and I'm a coffee nerd, dad of 3 kids. You know what I mean? Known to kick a freestyle while I'm making a pour over on a regular at the Anti-Gentrification Coffee Club. That's what we do.
Tennessee, I spit it and I stay with those Mississippi River flows.
I put this tweet out and it was just like, so if a Black-owned American coffee company wanted to go to Africa to learn about the Black history of coffee from the source, would y'all be into that or not? Something like that. And like that John just started getting like crazy interaction. You know what I mean? I don't know if I would say it went viral, but people just started DMing me like from the continent. Like, yo, we would love to host you. Like, yo, dude, let's go. And then I started getting people in the coffee industry being like, yo, let's do this. We want to send you guys. And I'm like, what? So I text all my mentors. I text Martine. I text Tom. Should I like do a GoFundMe? Like, I'm not even really supposed to be working this month. And people are like, yo, you got to do it. So we like shoot a little video in the hood and like one of my neighbors is walking by and we always have these conversations where we yell back and forth to each other across the street.
Go to Africa to eat the coffee. Yes, sir. This year. We doing the fundraiser right now.
I don't know why we do that, but it's like a tradition now. Like, we're not gonna cross the street, we're not gonna go to the meeting, we in the hood.
It was very significant for us to go to Africa in multiple ways. So the work that we were doing in Memphis was just the work we were doing in Memphis until we went to Africa. So I remember having a conversation with one of the guys in the neighborhood by the shop. Hey, when y'all going to Africa? Y'all heading out next week? And it connects the dots for him who will never get out of his neighborhood because he's older and he's sick and he doesn't travel. It connects the dots for someone like him who is able to understand coffee in a global way. So instead of me just thinking, oh yeah, coffee comes in a big tin and it's already ground and it smells burnt, but to now know not only is it a product from my people, but I know people who have met my people who do coffee. And so it was huge in that way because it became global. It wasn't just an idea in our back room with 2 heat presses or an espresso machine.
All right, family.
Love y'all.
I can't wait to see the picture of the hyena.
Hey, okay, hyenas.
We'll get a chance to go to Africa one day soon, but this trip, Daddy's gonna go ahead of us and get everything ready and say, hey, Africa, here come the Hendersons.
Love you, boys.
Love you, Daddy.
Love you, Reese. All right, the kids are dropped officially.
Two-thirds.
Two-thirds, yeah.
So my initial response to the team going to Ethiopia was fear. I'll be honest. There was a fear because you do hear these stories about if you're going back to Africa, don't go here, don't go here. They don't want to see you. And there's a big debate specifically on TikTok about citizens of Africa don't want to meet African Americans. You're not an actual African. You're not valuable. These things. And so there was this fear there of, are we going to be accepted? We want to build a family there. We want our family to be able to go there and experience that family. And so there was this fear that there would be rejection.
All right, shorty, I'm gonna see you in 2 weeks. I love you.
I love you.
Yes, go with God.
And it's all over my road, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Bags was checked. Everything was good with the COVID test.
African God, and it's all over my road. African God, and it's all over my road, yeah. God, and it's all over my road. All over my road. All over my, all of me, let it drip, let it drain. All of me, let me sip from the drain, yeah. All of me, let me sip from the chalice. Why I look like I just stepped up out the palace? Thank you, Lord. Yeah, thank you, Jesus.
But immediately to hear my husband when he touched down, when I finally did hear from him, when he touched down, and to hear the joy and the tears and the sigh of relief almost. It was a relief of coming back home to something after having been gone for so long.
With the homie Michael.
We in the motherland, fam. I've been trying to hold it in because I was like, I didn't know if we was going to make it through the gate, but God is good, you know what I mean? Favor ain't fair, we here, you know what I mean? Like, yeesh.
That's right.
Yeesh. The latte art, yo. Wow. Thank you, yo. First coffee in Ethiopia, bro.
So the first cup of coffee I have is in the office. Usually it's a French press. And it's usually winds up being from the coffee from our site in Gera, or usually is Gera coffee, as well as some coffees from Green Spring. And I wind up having a lot of coffee during the day.
Twist it. Okay, then close it back up. And the coffee looks different.
Just lighter.
Yeah.
But I think, honestly, when you see how hard it is, I think you appreciate a cup of coffee more because the amount of work that's done to make a cup of coffee is tremendous. Oh, you'll see like in Gera Forest that you probably have to walk at least a few hours to get coffee. And then some of those coffees, they come to our site. It's just the amount of work that people have to do. And I remember going to a place called Mankira, which is in Kaffa. We had to walk literally about 3 hours to get to that site. And that cooperative does about maybe like 80 bags of coffee.
Can you translate for us? How much is 80 bags of coffee? You talking about Kroger size bags, Target size?
80 bags of 60 kg, like export coffee. 80 bags times 60, that's going to be 4,800 kgs. And you multiply that by 2.2046. That's 10,582 pounds of coffee.
So,
but that's actually small.
What?
It's not a lot. It's not a lot.
It almost makes me think about Wakanda. So let's go there. It almost makes you think about Wakanda, and you see this advanced technology that everyone is benefiting from, but nobody can imagine that it would come from a small nation in Africa. There's some realism there. So there's Ethiopia that brings us the product that has benefited the most behind oil in the entire globe. I think it's the narrative that we've been given for years and centuries and decades. Like, we've been given this narrative about African nations that this is who they are, this is their capacity, and this is all that they can offer to the global economy.
But we want to be wealthy, right? We want to get to a point where we can make decisions where right now we don't have that option for the most part. And it's not just about coffee, it's about everyday life of Black people. And I think if we get to a point where, because we have the resources, we have the knowledge, and if we get to a point where we start training with each other, and that could be all Black supply chain, but before anything, you look at your local community, right? Like my local community right now is Addis. In the US is Baltimore. I care about Baltimore more than I care about LA. I mean, you care about Memphis more than you care about any city in the US, right? So helping our local community, I think, is the key. And that's what we try to do with coffee in terms of giving education and healthcare. What could we do to help our community first? And as Black people, I think if we get to the point of helping our community, you help Memphis, I help Baltimore, then Memphis and Baltimore starts helping each other. Addis and Memphis starts helping each other, then it's unlimited, our potential. Because Africa has almost all the resources you can imagine, but we're so poor. It's so wrong. The farmer that does all the work, he owns the product. The farmer doesn't set the price. Somebody sets the price. Somebody tells you this is the price for coffee. But my cost of production could be $4. But no, that's not the point. New York will tell you, or usually winds up being some European or white person, right? Unfortunately, that's not what we do. And I think if we have a Black, not just even a Black supply chain, a good supply chain, an ethical supply chain, being pro-Black is not being anti-white, right? We love people. We just want equality in that. And honestly, in the coffee trade, Black people are the lowest, in the poll. Black females are the lowest, males are much higher, and other minorities, Hispanics, Asians. And the coffee trade seems to be a white man's business currently. He wants you guys to come back home.
Man, bro. How do you say that?
Wadagarachu, tamalasu. Wadagarat is country. Come back to your country. Wadagarachu, tamalasu.
Sheesh. We are officially in Guji. Guji!
Hey, I'm sipping that Guji, I'm dripping that Guji. They want me to stop, but I cannot go through with it. I got the crew and ain't no backing off. I'm about to brew it, I'm back with the sauce. Yeah, all Black, everything, including my babies. They said cut it out, but my dread hand like Jamaican. Yeah, how you take it black. Yeah, we taking it back. How you take it black.
The experience and the tradition here in Ethiopia, the relationship between the community and the coffee, that strong relationship is something we need to, market, we need to share in the future, to bring this connection, between coffee and the society in different countries. And I mean, having you guys and traveling to different places in Africa, I mean, that might be a very good point to, start talking about what kind of, tradition is there as a local level consumption. The consuming country decides at the end of the day not to buy coffee. What will happen to the farmers in Rwanda? What will happen to the farmers in Kenya and other places?
Golly. Sir, you changing my life, bro. This is crazy.
It's your first time?
First time ever seeing a coffee tree, bro.
Oh. Wow. Did you hear the shade you can here?
Yeah. So you said all over here is where most of the green bean coffee comes from?
Like, man, it was just crazy actually go to Tamaru's farm. I remember we got there and they're like, yo, we making this meal. They take us behind the house to this little hut. It's out there, they're making bread from cornbread. They're making cornbread. He's explaining to me I don't know what cornbread is. I'm like, what? Y'all making cornbread? And his daughter is back there pounding. They mash the corn into meal, put water in it, wrap it in the banana leaf. It's kind of almost like a tamale or something. And they put it under the fire, and then it comes out. It's just crispy, flat cornbread. And I was like, yo, my grandma used to make these. She called this hot water cornbread. I'm like, what? How are this 8,000 miles away, two different people from two different parts of the continent, and then they serve it. People, it's the first meal we had. They served that with greens, spicy greens with onions. I'm like, yo, this is just how my grandma used to make it with the spices and the onions, and then you just sop it up with your hand.
My parents didn't really do coffee, but my grandfather did and my grandmother did. And so my grandmother, she always did it black. She loved it black, but it was always Folgers or community coffee.
New instant Folgers. Today's instant Folgers tastes good as fresh perked because it's made from fresh perked coffee.
tastes good is fresh perch because it is.
I did not want it black. I wanted it to taste like something. And so my grandfather used to put all the sugar and a little bit of cream in there, and he would pass it to me from the table. I was probably 5, drinking coffee. And so that was our experience. Like, that was what we shared. So my grandfather was in the sanitation strike of 1968. And so he marched with Dr. King, and he was a sanitation worker. So he took a thermos to work with him every day full of coffee. And so I didn't know that until probably 3 years ago, that was an actual integral part of his daily schedule is coffee. It was definitely integral in that I felt a connection with my grandfather in a way that I hadn't before.
So the supply chain starts at the same place where we had hot water cornbread and greens. It starts at Tamaru's farm in the town of Uraga, and a bunch of other smallholder producers who live in the area as well, who contribute to the Green Spring lot. And then when they contribute to this lot, Toure Waji is really facilitating this process. He's a community leader. He owns a lot of the mills in that area, the washing stations, making sure the coffee gets processed, it's ready to go. It goes to Mike Mamo, who works at Addis Exporters, and Mike is also a co-owner in Green Spring, and he's making sure that the coffee gets milled or finished, processed, and make sure that it gets out the country, right? And then Equatorial Coffee Consultants, 2 brothers, African-American brothers who live in the States, are gonna receive it. They're catching the ball, right? They're the importer, right? So they're purchasing it from Mike Memo, and then they're sourcing it, warehousing it here in the States. And then we buy it from them. My wife, Renata Henderson, roasts it. She brings it back to the hood in the GDC. And then the homies come, my younger brother, Julian Henderson, TJ Johnson, who's kind of like our manager, president, administrator, CFO. He does all the things, bags it, we sell it to the fiends, you know what I mean? The people in the community who need it, who want to connect, who want something positive, something energizing, something organic, something from the soil. And we share the story of Tamaru, and we share the story of what we learned. And most importantly, we share the blessing that we learned while we were there. And that blessing to me is, I think, the end of the supply chain, because it takes it back full circle. Just like that time when I had when I had cornbread and greens, like, it shows there's a connection. King Guji told me, when I finna get in the bina, we're gonna do it like that. Eat the meat kosher and the fruit from the freelander. I let the sun where my king get they glean from. Yeah, me and my Wyndham, cop up plenty wisdoms, prop up all the children, let's all watch I cleanse them. They told me, boy, you never go back. But when I pull them, they told me you go to, now you hold that. Everywhere I go that, the picture make 100. Where you get your glow at, they say you ought to know that. I know that. 8,000 miles, I could never be finer. Than the designer, body fit a winder, ready keep the timing.
You're gonna work with a natural process. So I'm Lily from Rwanda. I'm coffee enthusiast. I am with coffee for 5 years now, I think. Yeah, I started over like 2017. I started as a barista, and then I continue working in the coffee shops. I get trainings from specialty coffee, and now I'm a coffee trainer. To go internationally, you need to build first locally, like people to understand that they should drink coffee. They can make good coffee. Black people, we really have we very optimistic. We got love. I don't know where it's coming from, but we have something in ourselves that this love gives us hope for the future. We're always hoping for the best. Even whatever we're going through, we know that the next day we're gonna make it, and we never stop fighting. This is something that it's a community. We have something, the love for this industry, for coffee, to support each other. That's some other communities are like.
Yeah, call your boy a bagada. I just keep it with me when I'm moving through the ministers. Yeah, skipping the minuscule. I just got the city and we plenty full. Feeding all my people and we coming up. We gon' bring the city to the Africa. Yeah, I just keep it down when I move it. Came through with the big flow.
So my experience specifically with coffee shops has not been a pleasant one. So I've had to almost explain why I'm there whenever I go to coffee shops, unless it's one of the more family-friendly kind of like Java places, where it's more probably college students chilling versus your third wave. And so I've had to explain myself, or feel like I have to explain myself as a Black woman walking into a coffee shop, because obviously coffee's not mine and I know nothing about it, is the assumption that is made when I walk in. To now be on the other side of the counter, I guess. So that was as a customer, but now as a roaster, to be on the other side, it feels empowering to know that this is something that originally Black women did. Like, this is what we did. So we were the original roasters, we're the original baristas. Like, going back to Ethiopia, this is what the women did in Ethiopia. And so for me, it feels empowering now to know that. I didn't know that. I didn't set out to be the first Black female roaster in Memphis. I didn't set out to do that. Our biggest thing was we want to empower the Black community and let them know coffee's yours. Coffee's a part of your bloodline. Don't be afraid to walk into the coffee shop. Don't be afraid to say what you do know about coffee. Don't be afraid to ask questions. You have a right to ask that. In fact, you have first rights to ask that, you know? And so now, as a Black roaster, the implications for the future are huge. So we have an internship now, and just seeing the ladies who are in our internship, the Black ladies who are in our internship, who are just like, I want to watch you. I just want to watch you roast. I just want to touch the roaster is amazing to be a part of, inspiring the next generation of Black women roasters doing what they naturally were born to do, basically. And so I think what I love about it is it inspires in multiple aspects. It's not just coffee. It's you go and innovate where you are meant to be. Like, this is meant for you, go innovate there. Don't doubt yourself, don't question yourself, and you don't have to prove yourself there. You can just be.
ገብቷል። አሁን እኛ ደስተኛ የምንሆነው እንደዚህ ጥቁር አሜሪካ የኛ አይነት ሰዎች ሲመጡልን በጣም ደስተኞች ነን። አሁን እሱ ንጹህ ወንድሜ ነው። ገብቷል። ምንም ነገር የሚያስከፋኝ ነገር የለም። ደስተኛ ነኝ እሱ በመጣቱ ተረታታ።
He's saying he's so happy to see a Black person. So he's saying he's asking you to encourage African Americans to come. He said, "You're my brother." It's the first time he also saw a Black person in coffee. So it makes him happy. He's saying our skin is the same. Our blood is the same.
We have the same blood. Yes.
ወንድማችን ነው። ይሄ ምን ደስተኞች ነን በጣም እኛ ነጮች ከሚመጡት የነሱ ወንዳር እንደሚያስደስተን እንዲያው እንደ ወንድማችን ደግሞ እንደምናያቸው ችግር ደግሞ ካለ በያለበት እንዲጠሩን እንደምንደርስላቸውም ደግሞ ይወቁ።
He said if they have a problem, one, he's encouraging Black people. He said more than anybody, seeing a Black person come here is encouraging to them. And he said if there's a problem anywhere for African Americans, we're next to you. We're by your side. Anywhere.
California is very fluid. You can see police here now firing tear gas into the crowd. They are trying to push these folks back.
On Monday, May 25th, Minneapolis police officers respond to a call about a customer using a counterfeit $20 bill. Officers arrive and pull the suspect, 46-year-old George Floyd, from his car, placing him in handcuffs.
Even at Tomaru's farm, like, we were the only African Americans that they had ever met in coffee. We were the only African Americans that had ever visited their farm. Or the town that we went to, they're like, we never met any other African Americans, and let alone ones who own their own coffee and want to buy coffee from us. And like, for them to say like, thank you for coming. Like, one brother said, "Werabi hirakota," which means like, come back to your country. He was like, come back and tell other African Americans to come back. Like, it just made everything we're doing in coffee. This is a part of a bigger story that's bigger than us.
Bureau of Criminal Apprehension and the FBI the death report. Police officers in riot gear fire rubber bullets at the crowd.
Magic touch by vibranium. The coffee comes from Kemet. This limitless like our cranium curls. Our babies ain't no maybe. Jesus gave me my favorite notes. Cup in my covers, beauties. They got a lot with the ghost. I got a lot of their heart. I got a lot for the cocoa butter the cover, so I thank them for those. Pumping the hemoglobin. They told me we black like evil, so I had to stack they devils. I'm devils. I come with evils and levels. I shut they stevels to make sure that they never come back with that. And then I tell them to get the cup of that black.
So for us as a company, we wanted to start education. Like, since we have the resource, we have the farm, the stations, the roastery, So we wanted to open for people to be educated. I feel like that is a game changer. There might be ideas in other places as well to start the similar ideas. So we wanted to be together just to start this. You know, our purpose is just to push the coffee sector to the next level and to like not just for Ethiopia but for the rest of the world as an origin, you know, and for people to come here and understand the origin of coffee, you know, and we have a lot of responsibility as a country that coffee is found. We would have to do our, you know, our work, and we would have to show the world what is it like. I feel like you can do it as a one person or a one organization. I think collaboration is very important.
Yeah, bro.
For benefit of the country, the community, and for the entire Africa, you know, that's what we have been missing. We are all learning our own rest, then we're not working together. You see countries that have no resource, but they're doing amazing, but we have a resource too. We are rich, but we're just not, like, we have to be enabled to do. We don't need aid or anything. We have land, we have water, we have good weather conditions. We have an amazing resource. So it's all about enabling the youth now for the future of Africa. I mean, now it has been good with the music, but you can do with coffee, fashion.
You know, my friend who's living in Chicago, he sent me a rap music, an American guy, black American guy, who sing about coffee, about the Ethiopian Oromos, about Guji people. This guy.
That's me.
It's you?
That's me.
Oh, man.
Crazy. Okay, here it is. This is I screen recorded this on my computer.
Yeah, exactly. This one. This is the one I have here.
Yeah, that's why I sent him a screen recording of this. But I wrote it because he was sharing with me about like what the Oromo people have went through and having their names changed. And as African American, like we had our names taken, we had our language taken, and I related, and I was like, I want to write about that, you know. And so God just gave me. I was taking a shower, and God gave me the lyrics. And they just came to me and I recorded it. So, yeah, but no, it's not by James Blake, it's by Bartholomew Jones. And I was going to give you, Ture, that CD to get it to the kids in Guji. Because when they came, they were like, yo, you do music? And I was like, yeah, I do. And I made a song about the Oromo people. And like, I wanted to share that with you, to share with them. So y'all can listen to it now.
This is beautiful. That's connection.
Yes. That's crazy.
Wow. Yeah, thank you for this song, man. I love it.
Whenever someone asks me about the history of coffee, I remember the city of Jimma, where the coffees originate from. And that's really great history for our people, but the world doesn't know this history, and somehow it feels really sad because like actually this is very big business, but world doesn't know that it's actually coffee is black.
As African Americans, whatever we can do to help, you know what I mean? And as a rapper, if there's anything I can do to help, like we're here to do that.
I'm really happy that you're doing, because like this is the like everyone in Europe. I live in Europe, so I understand that.
Yes.
No one understands that actually coffee is from originated from Ethiopia.
Yeah. Is there any message you want people to know about being black in coffee, or what we should know about how to enjoy it? Because if we're going to learn the black perspective, it's going to be from Ethiopia, it's going to be from Ethiopians. And so is there anything you would want us to know?
Waanan gabaabsee jechuu barbaadu hawaasni addunyaa bunni kan keenya ta'uu baruusaa. Look at our skin. It looks like coffee, you know. So, like, I want to say for African American and or black community, thank you, all black community, that we need to own our history, and we need awareness that actually this beautiful culture, this beautiful ritual is actually originated from us, and we need to own and to expose to world. We don't have to like sit and wait someone show us how to do it, because actually it's ours. You got it. That's what I want to say to my African American and black community in the world. So we have to be aware. Awareness. We need awareness.
For us, coffee is life, day-to-day activities. We find coffee in every activities. Now you are a guest. You come to Tamir's house. He gonna make coffee for us because you are respected guest. So the coffees, lack no coffee nor peace in your house. Lack no coffee nor peace in your house. Every day, every time, you can lack anything, but lacking coffee is lacking peace.
Wow.
Everywhere there is a coffee, there is a peace. This is how the Guji community think, how we believe.
I'm just constantly freaking overwhelmed by how dope something is. Bro, this is amazing. Yeah, okay. Bunafi Nagia, Hindabina.
Okay, say it again.
Bunafi Nagia, Hindabina.
Teray YG told me, like, when somebody comes to your house and you serve them coffee for the first time, you bless them. You give a blessing. And this is the same blessing that his father would say over all the children by name, and over the animals and the plants, over the land, over his properties, over his neighbors, over the region, the country, the world, every day. And this is what the context that coffee was being received in, right? It was giving this blessing of Bunafi Nagia Hendabina, which means may your house lack no coffee nor peace, or lack no coffee nor peace in your house or in your home. I kind of think of it as like may the peace in your home abound as the coffee flows. But there's this connection between coffee and peace for Black people. And like coffee is this symbol of Black peace. And not just Black peace, but human peace, peace for creation, right? For the animals and plants. I just think about like what does that do for you as a child? For Teray, hearing that every day, like that shapes your expectations when you interact with this thing. You expect peace. And if there's not peace for the people who are participating in it, you know something's off.
There's this divide that says coffee is only for this. Coffee can only be enjoyed on this level, versus understanding coffee was never meant to just be enjoyed by the elite or by a certain class or by a certain race, but it was made to be experienced in community and made to be experienced together, and not with an actual stark divide between people and nations. It was made to be experienced together, because at origin, when it was stolen, that's what's being perpetuated. It's systematic at this point. It's just what it is now. And so we miss out on the camaraderie and what we could build together, because we're so busy saying this is what everything should be, versus this is what it was originally supposed to be.
I be love, we be love, you be love, we be. I be love, we be love, you be love, we be. I be love, you be love, we be love, come on. I be love, we be. I be love, we be. I be love, you be love, we be. I be love, we be love, you be love, we be. I be love, we be love, we be love, we be. I be love, preparing the coffee and like her daughter getting to learn that. Like this is something that little girls learn from the ground up. How to learn this ceremony and facilitate it in the community. It's like learning that, you get the mac and cheese recipe. You know what I mean? It's a big deal. So it's cool. It's super dope to have this here. I just wanted to ask you, what does making Coffee Black again mean to you? You can share a little bit about like what it's been like being a part of this thing that's been happening for the last 3 years I feel like all over the United States, or whatever that is for you.
I'm Corey, KP. I got into coffee like 5 years ago, and nobody looks like me. So I was in search of finding anyone that looked like me and loved coffee. It's like when you like find your cousins. You're like, oh, like you're my cousin, you're my auntie, you're my uncle, and then you're like, oh, and we get to come for this like family reunion, and that's really like how it's felt being in the midst of all of this. It's like, cool, now we get to like have a cookout.
Peter and our family required us to desert them. don't eat the curse, fam. We get the love we needed when we see the birth, fam. You make the money when you get love, and not the other way around. Don't get it switched up. You make the money when you get love, and not the other way around. Don't get it switched up. We got Rule, Blue City Donuts, aka best donuts on the planet. You know what I mean?
Never drunk black coffee before I met Bart, and especially drinking it straight black. So he taught me the history about the black coffee and everything, and we just took it from there. You know what I'm saying?
We be.
I think in generations. And so I'm thinking about what will my children's children think when they look back and say, yeah, my great-great-great-great-grandfather went to Ethiopia and that's how we now, what are they going to be doing with this?
Yeah, you hear at coffee shops all the time, like, oh, that's not right. Like from coffee bros, whatever, like your extraction is not correct. Like that was the right ratio, like your water temperature is. There's all these little variables, which for us, the X in Coffee Black means celebrating those variables, the diversity in those variables, celebrating like Malcolm X, the missing link and trying to reconnect to that. But for a lot of folks, that variable is like a weapon. It's like a way to make people feel less than you. And it's like, that's not what it's about. It's about giving people peace, sharing your peace with others. Because coffee's a seed, and a seed is a representation of the future. And it's a collection of all the beautiful things from the past, right? The best parts of the past get put in a seed. And you take that seed, it's almost like a sample, right? You chop it up, right? You break it down, you download it into your body through your systems, and then you use that energy to propel you forward into the future. And that's why we say like coffee is Afrofuturism. Like the future of Black people in coffee is like a celebration or a notion of Afrofuturism, because it's like reconnecting to the ground, right? And using that knowledge, that energy, those components in our literal bodies to bring us into a future that's better. This is not a sad story. This is not a story about poor folks in need of saving, but rather, this is a story of the seeds of Black peace, separated by the slave trade, colonialism, reconnecting at the birthplace of both coffee and humankind in the motherland, reclaiming a stolen seed and a legacy and reimagining a shared future. May your house lack no coffee nor peace. This symbolism is shared all throughout the history of coffee as it grows in the motherland. You see it as coffee becomes enshrined in the life of folks there through trade, marriage, prayer, even play. But as it grows, so does the ire of colonizing eyes. And in 1616, the seeds of a Black future full of peace has been stolen and turned into a $200 billion industry built on the backs of Black people and indigenous labor. If we have a $200 billion industry, we need to see Black people integrated at all points along the supply chain. As we see the Black supply chain grow from the motherland, the seeds of our peace become a symbol not only of peace in the motherland, but also of peace as Black people battle gentrification from the 4 horsemen of the urban blight apocalypse: craft breweries, yuppies walking small dogs, Whole Foods, and coffee shops. The seeds of our brothers in Africa are connected to this in the motherland. It's just the beginning, from Tamaru and his family and the Green Spring lot in Uraga, to Ture Waji and Big Mamo, Delvin and Ade importing the coffee through Equatorial, to my family roasting coffee back home, my wife, Renata Henderson, and the homies making everything click with the brews and bagging in the hood back in Memphis. This is what our future can look like. It can look like coffee ciphers and celebrations between us over bread we break together. Songs written about our shared future, love, and legacies. In a lot of ways, coffee is like hip hop. And when you think about it, what is a seed but nature's sample? It's like a thumb drive. All this information from the past process distilled down into this small, tiny piece, and you can plug it into the ground, plug it into yourself, and use that life, that energy to propel you, to propel us into the future. And what do we do when we grind it? We chop it up like a sample and distill those little bits and pieces down into their most soluble parts. Afterwards, we download all that data, the notes, the taste, the piece that we've been missing into our bodies and pass that energy to create new futures together. That's hip hop, chopping up the notes of the past to be downloaded and recontextualized in the present as a canvas for our seeds to spit new pictures in the future. And what happens when we write our own words? When we sing new songs of peace? What happens when our notes are taken as our creator intended, with no sugar and no cream needed? What happens when we actually make coffee black again?
Guji, man. You got it, Rose. You got it.
Zion. Yeah. Bossy man told me you need to do good. Flip a couple bags and bring the whole hood, man. Listen, just because they hating on me, you should. Put up in the motherland with the old wood grain. Hold up, Sammy told me pull up this whatever. Got some brothers out in Garrett with Beretta. They saw me and said, what up, a bag of that. Una vina, que agenda, vina, put that like forever. Guji. That's on my life. Guji the best. That's on my life. That's on my life. The king of the Guji.
Thank you for bringing us, man.
Thank you.
Phenomenal. This view is amazing. I don't know how to speak, but thank y'all so much. Appreciate it for real. Like
Guji. Guji. Hey. I'm sipping that Guji, I'm dripping that Guji. They want me to stop, but I cannot go through with it. I got the crew and they no backing off. I'm about to brew it, I'm back with the sauce. Yeah, all black, everything, including my babies. They said cut it out, but my dread hang like Jamaican. Yeah, how you take it black. Yeah, we taking it back. Take it back. How you take it black. Yeah, we taking it back. Yeah, how you take it? Yeah, blacker than some bacon. Burnt. I feel like my place is turned. I just put up in the curtains. Stomps. Any hater tryna spread a negative. Ain't no milk, ain't no sugar in my narrative. And I'm feeling good like
Thank you for buying this country. You guys are developing this country.
No, thank you, man.
Sorry for disturbing, because no, yeah.